Okay, here we go. We're live. We're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live stream from the Bow Wow Bill page. I have the man Dave Kroyer joining me. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Bill?
Doing awesome, man. Where are you at in the world?
I am in, well, I always tell everybody Austin, Texas, but really I'm in a little town maybe about 15 miles north of Austin called Hutto, Hutto. Little farming community, and I can be in downtown Austin via the toll road in about 15, 20 minutes. So I love being out here kind of in the country.
Hutto. Isn't that Star Mark or was Triple Crown is there or is that
Absolutely. Used to be Triple Crown, now
yeah.
it's Star Mark, and believe it or not, I used to work there from, well, I opened it with a few other people in 1999, 2000, and worked there till about 2005.
Really? Okay, so
Yep.
you actually opened it. I didn't know that.
I wasn't the owner, but I worked there when they opened it. So,
Cool. It's a cool little facility there.
absolutely.
And so what got you into working dogs? Or into
Um,
the industry, I should say.
that's I get that question all the time. So, prior to me having a career in dog training, I was actually in the music industry until about 1998. From 1988 to 1998, yeah, I was in the music industry. I went to school for music, um, and after I had graduated with a degree and some other stuff, I was actually doing that for a living for quite a long time, doing a lot of studio work, going on the road with different acts and stuff like that. And one day I just kind of woke up, believe it or not, and said, I want to change careers. And everybody's like, why would you ever change careers? Something like that. And I just said, I don't know. I think you get bored with certain things. Um, and I was like, okay, if I'm going to change careers, what else could I do? I have no other skills outside of, I've had a couple German Shepherds that I had during my um, time as a musician, and I wasn't really training them. They were just great in the house. They didn't cause any problem, and people in my neighborhood thought I was a professional trainer. So I was like, you know what? I'm either gonna flip hamburgers or I'm gonna try to become a dog trainer. So I decided to go to a dog training school in St. Louis, Missouri. Went there for 6 months, graduated from there, moved down here, went to work at Triple Crown, and
Wow.
here I am today.
Well, how long ago was that?
Well,
96, you said, right?
not 98. 98 is when I
98.
made the decision to get out of the music industry and take up a career in dog training.
Wow. And then, so you work with shepherds. Was it, how did you train them before? Did you know what you were doing?
I
And,
wasn't really training them, but they just coincided nice in my studio apartment in downtown St. Louis, and I can't I never really did any training. They just kind of quote behaved, whatever that means. I guess I was good at interacting with them and letting them know what was right and wrong, and a big thing was I exercised the hell out of them because I lived in the studio apartment, but I took them out for many walks, played frisbee with them, and people in the neighborhood saw my dogs were trained and they thought I was a trainer. I'm like, well, hell, maybe I am a trainer, but seriously, those dogs didn't know anything. I mean, I'm lucky if they knew their names at that point.
wow. So when you started going to formal training and learning, what was the first thing that you learned, or what was probably the biggest aha, like, oh my gosh?
um, when I went to a facility, the Tom Rose School of Dog Trainers in St. Louis, and it was a lot of theory stuff, like the theory and the tech, what I call the technology of training. Um, I didn't understand all that, like the different stages of learning, different ways to shape a behavior, uh, the term being anthropomorphic and all that stuff. So the theory was a big thing to me that I really did not understand.
Hmm.
Like I had, I guess, what we call the X factor. Like I was good with dogs. I could coincide with an untrained dog and have a happy life. Um, but training, like I didn't really understand what training actually was.
Yeah, yeah, and expectations, standards, all that stuff.
Exactly,
And
criteria, the whole thing.
jargon, what marker shaping, all
Yep.
that, reward, targeting, there's so many things that even I think that some dog trainers that are doing it for a living, it would do them well. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on is just because you bring a very valuable insight because you're in the working field. And what is working? How do you see the difference between the working dog industry versus a pet dog industry?
God, that's a hard one because I don't know. I'm involved in both. I mean, at our facility here, we do train and work with pet dogs and companion dogs. Um, Honestly, I don't think there's a difference. I think the problem that I see with people is, and this is what I try to preach at my seminars and stuff like that, is people do not view dog training as a technology. And I love that word. There's a guy named Bob Bailey, Robert Bailey. Are you familiar with him?
I have not, but let's find out.
Yeah. Everybody, if you are into dogs, needs to know who Bob Bailey is.
Robert Bailey. Let me
Yeah,
see
so
here.
he's kind of like one of our last people living that actually directly go back to B.F. Skinner. And there's a lot of history behind him. You can actually check out a little bit of his stuff on YouTube. There's a little kind of promotional video called Patient Like the Chipmunks. But he's done some amazing stuff. You have to check out what he has done. And he always talks about animal training as a technology. And I think a lot of people get into training just like I did because we think we're good with dogs or we love our dogs. But there's actually stuff you have to know and be educated about regarding animal training. And I'm not just talking about dogs, other species and that type of thing. Recently in my life, I'm very interested in working with other species. We have some chickens here, some different stuff that we work with other than dogs. And that was a big influence from Bob Bailey. He had that influence on me. I had a pleasure of meeting him a year or two ago when he came out to visit me. But it's not whether it's working dogs or pet dogs. People have to understand there are laws of learning. And if you abide by those laws and you understand those laws, you never have a question for me or you again. Now, that may put us out of business, but that's what I try to preach. If you understand how theory works and the laws of learning, then you can make decisions on your own. Whether you're a pet person, whether you're looking to train your companion dog, or you're looking to go to a world championship and have common sense, which sometimes is lacking in the dog world.
Tell me about it. Well, and I think, that bottom line, that is what people are paying us for, is for the technology that's going to allow them to exist with their dogs, or as you put it, that theory, the laws of learning, that's what they're paying us for.
Right.
And so
Well, what's interesting that it was always there. It's been there all the way back, and we can go back to literature like the misbehavior of organisms by the Brelands and stuff like that. And this information was always there. And people think that myself, yourself, other colleagues of mine were coming up with some new brilliant stuff. No, we're not. I'm doing the same old stuff that Marion Breland, Keller were doing, B.F. Skinner, Bob Bailey. Maybe I'm applying it a little bit differently, but I try to educate people on the history of this stuff.
Well, and I'm looking for the misbehavior of organisms. I'm trying to find that. But you're absolutely right, man. This knowledge, and people don't, I mean, they might come up with a concept, but they also, I mean, it's been there before. And
Right.
and that's it, is that we're borrowing, we're in a relationship with this animal, and we're just trying to coexist in a fulfilling manner on both ends. And some people have it and some people don't, but the thing is that some people try to guard it
Right.
and try to claim it as their own. And a lot of times, I will always give credit to the teachers that have taught me a
Absolutely.
particular technique,
100%.
right, where I got it. But overall, what at the end of the day, what are we doing this for? We're doing this to benefit dogs
Right.
and to pigeonhole that information. The guardian of knowledge is a huge problem in this world, and I think that we should look back, not just at the last 10 years, maybe the last, I don't even know where that misbehavior of organisms. I'm going to try to Google it. I'm going to do some more research here, and I'm also looking at a patient. Okay, dude, I found it. So let
Patient
me.
like the chipmunk. Oh my God, that it's incredible.
So
Like,
I'm going to share this screen
if you
really quick.
I mean, people would be like, "Whoa."
So let's watch this here for a second. What you're talking about here.
Yeah.
Can you see it, Dave?
Yep, absolutely. This is so cool that we can do this too.
Yep. Oh, hold on one second. I'm going to switch the audio so it goes out on my other speakers here. And then you guys should be able to hear it. And let me know if you can hear it too, Dave. Let me back it up just a little bit. And let's try.
Children are seldom patient. Once, some of the Bailey kids tried to feed chipmunks by chasing them. The chipmunks ran away, of course, but then the kids quietly and patiently offered food. Shortly, the chipmunks ate out of their hands. This was an early lesson in animal training. Behavior is best bestowed by an animal rather than compelled by a trainer. Be patient. When a behavior is given, seize it, shape it, and use it. Commercial training was our
heavy.
And it's
Say that again, Dave.
That's a very, very heavy statement that Bob said right there.
That behavior. Here, let's go back. I want to do this. This was very important. So let's everybody listen very carefully here. Actually, I'm just going to do the whole thing again here, because I think that this is, and that's it, man. Is that a lot of these trainers, they become a cult of personality, man, and that's what's important to remember, is that this behavior is not the trainer. I mean, the trainer might know approach, but a lot of times that ego gets involved.
Right.
And we have some, like you said, some not necessarily common sense in the dog training world. So let's watch this again.
Children are seldom patient. Once, some of the Bailey kids tried to feed chipmunks by chasing them. The chipmunks ran away, of course, but then the kids quietly and patiently offered food. Shortly, the chipmunks ate out of their hands. This was an early lesson in animal training. Behavior is best bestowed by an animal rather than compelled by a trainer. Be patient. When a behavior is given, seize it, shape it, and use it. Commercial training was our bread and butter, and it supported our research. To increase productivity, we automated much of the training. We could train hundreds of animals in a day. From automation of training, it was not much of a conceptual leap to mechanized animal shows and coin operation. By 1954, there were dozens of coin-operated animal shows. These automated units are really large Skinner boxes.
Yeah.
The equipment tells the animal what to do and when to do it. It also monitors the animal's behavior and reinforces when appropriate. The animals seldom perform for more than 4 or 6 hours a day.
I bet Peter loved that.
Yeah.
The animals performed safely within their air-conditioned show cages. They were popular at fairs, parks, expositions, and shopping malls. Between 1967 and 1975, ABE expanded its automated animal show inventory to more than 400 units.
Crazy.
All units of a particular style were identical. A chicken trained to operate a particular show could operate any unit of that type. For instance, all dancing chicken units looked superficially the same and worked identically. Any dancing chicken would perform in any one of the dancing chicken units.
Wow.
This interchangeability of animals and equipment improved our efficiency and reduced our costs. We maintained a stock of replacement animals and equipment, ready to be shipped to our people on the road or to a client anywhere in the world.
It's safety you want most.
Coast Federal
This looks like a different
Open your savings account at Coast Federal Savings. Coast Federal pays you more.
Buck Bunny set an all-time record for a commercial, running almost 20 years. Other commercials followed.
Look at that.
Pig commercials for Rath Packing Company. These piglets were so young their reinforcement came from a bottle.
Wow.
And ABE did several promotional TV ads for tourist attractions, including this one featuring an animal-run newspaper. One of our corporate clients was Quaker Oats, makers of Puss in Boots cat food. At first, we did taste tests. Then we produced TV commercials. Early
Can you
TV.
pause it for a second, Bill?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So here's the thing, like, we're just watching a little bit of that, and I'm all smiles here, having to be able to show that to everybody because Bob Bailey once again is one of the last living people that go back to B.F. Skinner. He was married to Marion Breland, who prior to that was married to Keller Breland. So it was Keller and Marion who were direct students of B.F. Skinner. And they're the ones who did the collegiate thesis or wrote the book, Misbehavior of Organisms. And Bob, prior to all this, had worked for the military and was actually the first person the military Department of Defense hired to train dolphins and marine animals and birds to detect bombs and do spying and stuff like that.
Wow.
So the guy's still alive, and he's the one who was doing the Bob Bailey chicken camp. And here's the cool thing. Bob's not really a dog trainer. He's an animal trainer. Right. But he's just an incredible guy. And if anyone, he's back. He retired last year. He kind of went on the road to visit people that he'd wanted to meet. He actually stopped down here. It was pretty interesting. I got an email one day from him, and it said, Mr. Kroyer, my name's Bob Bailey. You probably don't know who I am, but I'm in the same. I'm like, yeah, of course I know who you are, And he's like, I want to go visit some people, and you were on my list. I'd like to come down and spend a day with you. And I hear you're doing some very interesting stuff. And he came down here, and it was just incredible picking that guy's mind and talking to him. And he's actually doing a couple seminars again. I think he got a little bored with retirement, but yeah, man, if anyone can research the guy and that's where all this stuff came from, like any of the stuff that we're talking about regarding operant conditioning and that type of thing, it all goes back to Skinner, and Bob's wanted. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say it's a shame that we don't know his name more, Bob Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, all I do is every seminar, I'm like, Bob Bailey, Bob Bailey, Bob Bailey. Of course, there's other great trainers out there, but I'm like, you have to understand all this stuff. And Bob Bailey's still alive,
Yeah, I'm going to reach out to him and see maybe, who knows, man. I want to pick his brain too. I mean, what was your biggest takeaway if you had one from Bob?
Yeah, here's one of my biggest takeaways. So we were talking one night over dinner, and we were talking about. It was pretty funny too because he was talking about Karen Pryor and stuff like. He's like, oh, Karen doesn't even know how to train a dog, blah blah, or in any animal. He's like, all she's doing is regurgitating information from us. And we got into the topic. Bob Bailey is very well known in certain, I guess, venues of, however we want to call it, positive only, reward-based training type of circles, right? But what people, whatever, however you want to call it, I don't even know what the hell the correct political term for it is anymore. But after talking to him, he's like, Dave, I understand how to use pressure. I understand you using positive punishment. And he told me a very interesting story back when he was in Vietnam, and he was a canine handler in Vietnam. And they were training these dogs to obviously not run in and touch the tripwires in the jungle. And he said, oh, yeah, we trained it all positive and all reward-based. But before we took those dogs in the field, we walked them up to that goddamn tripwire, put their nose on it, and told them, don't you touch that damn thing. So it was interesting. He's like, I know how to use pressure. But the problem is that people don't understand the technology of using reward-based training first and foremost and how to use it. Everybody wants to jump to using pressure too quickly. But then, over time, he and once again, Bob's not really a dog trainer. He's an animal trainer and did some incredible things with the military. And the funny thing is, when he was hired for the military, he didn't know anything about a dolphin. He didn't know shit about those animals. He's like, oh, I know how behavior works. I know the laws of, I know that, they
The laws
work.
of learning.
I know the laws of learning. So he kind of bullshitted the Department of Defense into a job, and then he was training dolphins for them
Well, there
to
you go. I
detect
mean,
bombs and stuff like that. So
it works. So we got a bunch of people joining us. Hey, everybody! Thank you for being here. And we got some comments here. And I know a lot of people wanted to see this. I shared on a couple groups. But if you wouldn't mind hitting that share button, Dave is an amazing source of knowledge, and I know that a lot of people would like to catch him live. So if you don't mind, hit that share button. And James says, "Boys, I was at Dave's seminar in Australia that Nathan hosted." So James is.
hey, James, how you doing, man?
Yeah, great guy. Just got a new puppy lab, and he's been doing a bunch of cool tricks with her. Hey, Bill, sorry to have missed you when you were here in New Zealand, Dave. Tosh says she's in New Zealand. Tosh also says, my partner went to Bob's seminar when he was here in New Zealand and found it extremely fascinating and beneficial. This old knowledge seems to be lost a lot these days, and you're absolutely right, Tosh.
Absolutely right.
We need to be ambassadors and bring it back, because this is where everything is rooted down into, and even, I mean, as modern day is concerned. And we need to remember that. And not only that, but I think that there's pearls of wisdom still. Just watching that, and the whole animal welfare thing, we can talk about that. But right now, I was very interested in that they could put them in different scenarios, and those any animal could operate in any box, and what's
interesting about that is the reason that it worked so incredibly well is because rewards were freaking automated. There was no human involved. That's what I try. When I'm working with people, I'm like, do you realize that your food or reward administration is blocking the dog from learning? And I show examples of using a manners minder and stuff, but that's why those animals work like machines, because reward was all automated. They took the human element out of it. So it was just a machine doing do, and it was so predictable for the animals.
Well, and they could train an animal in a day, 100 animals in a day, it said.
Right.
That's wild. And where we do board and trains,
I know.
A month sometimes. I mean, this is blowing my mind, and I'm so glad that we don't really have, when I do these things, no set course, because I am never in a million years would have thought that we would be discussing this, but I'm going back there. I'm going to be watching this video over and over.
I mean, here was the thing. You asked me, you tried to prime me about the difference between working dogs and companion and pet dogs. I'm like, there's no difference. I mean, we're training animals, Now,
I think the difference is
a working dog just a performance thing, right? That's just more of a performance type of thing.
Yeah, well, and I think that the working dog, the expectations, the standards, the actual rules and whatnot of the sport that you're doing, I think that just that in the pet world that we sell our dogs short.
Absolutely.
And that's probably the biggest thing. Oh, I got the UPS guy coming right here, just so a training gift, or what I call it. You can't control the world outside, and that's where you were saying earlier about shaping and how timing and stuff can wipe or jeopardize the training that we're doing. And one of the things that you say that I really enjoy, Dave, is give the dog the correct answer.
Right.
And essentially, that's what these guys are doing. It's just that we're not giving it; the machine is giving it in a reliable, clear, concise manner. Hold on one second. That's my beagle, by the way. Hey, out, down. Wyatt. Thank you. All right, sorry. And that's it.
Before we even talk about, of course, give the dog the correct answer. Here's something that I've been struggling with in my head for the last year or two while giving seminars. I start to ask people, do you even know what the correct answer is? What is your criteria? Because people honestly can't tell me what their criteria is. And it changes over time. And you know what I really realized 20 years now doing this, I'm only a dog trainer when I'm at home training my dogs. Otherwise, I'm a problem solver. I'm a
Wow.
problem solver. That's all I am. So I'm like, okay, whenever I work with people, I'm like the detective, the FBI. I'm going, they tell me here's the problem, and I've got to look at the root of the real problem. I'm like, well, tell me what's your criteria of what you're even trying to train, and they can't tell me or they don't know, you know.
Well, he'd sit, or he can,
Right.
he doesn't
Yeah,
clean
and
the
then I
house.
say, well, I'm sure he can sit in the kitchen with a hot dog over his nose, but don't, of course, if that's it, yeah, I know why he won't sit in the city or when it's raining or when it's snowing. But they're like, well, I don't know. I just thought that if he sat in the kitchen, but people really don't, like you said, they sell their dog short. They don't understand the technology, and they don't know what they want it to look like. It's amazing when people watch my working dogs. This is the first thing they'll say. If they're uneducated of watching a performance dog, they'll go, "Oh my God, your dog is incredible." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, he's okay, but wait, what about me?" He like, of course he's a genetically superior animal, but he didn't come out of the womb doing all that shit. And they're like,
Yeah.
I can't believe he'll lay there and stay down that long. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'll train that up with a 6-pack of beer. Like, you can do that with your own dog. You're like, no, my dog would never do it. I'm like, you don't even understand what's capable. Like, people
Yes.
don't, it's
Well,
it's very interesting.
people always ask me, is that a service dog? And I'm like, no, no, he's not a service dog. He's just a trained animal. It's just a trained dog because he's doing a heel, or every time I stop, the dog sits, and it's just, that's where, getting back to the standards, and I think that it's so amazing when you do have a real relationship with your dog. It's not just a fake bribery type of thing
Right.
of misplaced timing and all this, and let me do this. If you do that, I'll do this. And and I think that that's a great point that you bring up too about what Bob's doing with taking the human element out of the equation, and we got to look at the dogs, or look at the animals as the end result. Are they doing what is expected? And if they're
Right.
not, that's what happened with me. And you were saying too, like, a lot of trainers, they get into this because they see that they're good with dogs. But a lot of trainers also get into this, Dave, and a lot of the trainers that I've spoken to previously, when I ask them when they got into the industry, how they got into the industry, they get a difficult dog. And they go to other trainers that don't solve the problem. And they
Right.
love their dog. And so they're not going to give up on this animal. And then they search and search and search and work until they get to the other side there. And then they realize that there's a gap of knowledge in this world, that they want to help others achieve the results that they have. And a lot of times they're met with salacious attacks when they go back to the trainer
Yep.
that are purely positive, saying, hey, look, it didn't work, but this worked. And that, to me, I just don't get, because we're here benefiting these animals. And those should be the end all, be all, answer of what we're doing, if it's working or not.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's one reason that I'm a competitive guy by nature. Everything I've kind of ever done in my life is competitive. Even with my mountain biking, I'm very competitive. And that's why I'm involved in working dogs, because it provides me a theater to actually compete. And not just to be able to go on social media and run my mouth, like talk the talk, walk the walk, the whole 9 yards. And there's something to be said about that. And I've been pretty successful being on 14 world championship teams with multiple dogs in different sports. But I've had tons of failures with that too. People know I tend to, on social media, I'll show a failure. But the interesting thing is my success way outweighs my failure. But that's one reason that I'm really into working dogs. It gives me a theater to go, wow, I can do this, or I've achieved that. And yeah, my training is working, or no, it didn't work that trial, or it's working, it's getting better. And it's one of those things like we talk about. Unfortunately, I hate to bring this up. I've been involved over the years, working with law enforcement, the military, and stuff like that. But they kind of like, well, if it's not broke, why fix it? There's no reason to better anything, right?
Yeah.
And the cool thing is about, well, if you're competing, there's always one guy competing harder than you, trying to figure it out harder, doing better. So it makes you be better, and a lot of times sport guys get a lot of slack from whether it's law enforcement or military, but we're like, wait, we are light years ahead of what's happening there. And I've been involved with, like I said, being a consultant for the 341st Department of Defense, U.S. military. Worked with trained, procured law enforcement dogs and handlers for most of my life. Private contractors, dogs going overseas to the Middle East and stuff like that. I actually don't do it as much anymore. I'm more interested in trying to help people understand the technology of animal training. That's where I'm at in my head.
Which is the laws of learning.
Laws of learning.
That's right.
And have a good time with my dogs while I'm doing it. So
while you're a dog trainer and not a problem solver, dude, that's crazy because that's exactly what it is. And it's putting out fires, I tell people, man. And I always love it when somebody calls me with a young puppy. I'm just like, oh yeah, let's get this off on the right foot. And I'm not going to hear from you probably in a year or two, but that's fine with me too, because
if you really think about this, man, and once again, I'm actually not doing as many seminars as I used to. I just did about 3-4 weeks down in Australia and New Zealand, and I was in Mexico before that, Montana last week, Los Alamos the week before, but I kind of slowed down. And what I realized is that 95% of the help, it's a question, Dave, how do I fix this? And I always, a lot of times I get irritated and I just go, well, why did you train it? Wow. Very profound statement, right? How do I fix this? I'm like, well, why did you train your dog to do that? And it's not very often that somebody will come up to me and go, hey, Dave, I'm starting, I've got to train this certain behavior. Can you give me insight how you train it? That hardly never happens. It's like, can you fix the foraging and the healing? My dog's mouthing the dumbbell. My dog's not biting properly. The barking's not good. Can you fix? Can you fix? Can you fix? I'm like, yeah, I can, man, but when can we train? When can we be an artist and paint some shit? Because that's what I like to do.
Yeah, not a race.
Right.
I want to,
That's what it is.
Yeah, it is. It's a racing, but it's also a racing just sloppy. Or cleaning up.
Right.
Cleaning up some, and a lot of times it's just, sometimes it's an easy fix, but it's also, it's important to know, that it is a whole picture approach. And just like Larry Crone is here, by the way, he says hello. And
hey, Larry.
He says, great guest. So, and Larry was just on and talking about the working dog versus the pet dog, and no difference. Exactly. Amen. And I know that he's a huge advocate for bringing the two fields together, and I think that we can have a lot of harmony with getting integrated, and that there's pearls that these working people have, or working dog people have, that are just going to blow people's minds away, that their dog is, and like literally you can have this dream relationship with your animal that is based in trust and open communication, and it's a beautiful thing. We have Steven says, very interesting. You guys are good. Love intelligence and love from Scotland.
Hey, Scotland.
Yeah, we got Scotland, we got New Zealand. Hey, everybody type where you're from in the comments so we know who we're talking to. All around the world we're talking. Is this technology cool? This,
yeah, it's Thursday in New Zealand and Australia and down under. So happy Thursday, guys.
Yeah, tell us what the future is like.
That's what it was like when I was down there. I'm like, for 4 weeks, I'm like, this is really hard living in the future, especially when I'm running a business a day behind. Like my brain was pretty messed up for.
Yeah, I want to go down there.
Sure, the alcohol didn't help that, but
Excellent. And then, you're focused on this new, new type of project here. And we had a quote here from Bob Bailey. I wanted not to pass up. Here it is. Training often fails because people expect too much of the animals and not enough of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that speaks to why did you train the animal to do that too?
Right.
You don't expect enough of yourself to know that your body language, there's different things that this animal, I mean, we sit here, we could sit perfectly still and with our voice, communicate a lot of different abstract ideas, and where that dog is not like that.
Right.
And there's the nuances, the subtle nuances.
This all comes back to understanding the laws of learning and blah blah blah, and then not being anthropomorphic. I talk to something very simple when I'm at a seminar and we're teaching a dog how to maybe target. Maybe go touch something, get a secondary reinforcer, come back for a reward, and it's amazing how many people are pointing to that thing they want the dog to target. And I'm like, when did you really think your dog understands the gesture of pointing? Like, that is a human gesture. It's like, you have to understand when you're pointing at something, unless you taught them what pointing means, to look in the direction of that finger, they're just going to stare at your freaking finger. That's not like, animals don't point at things, And that's the whole anthropomorphic thing. We can go on and on and on about that, but that's why, a couple of years ago, and after being a big student of Bob Bailey and that whole thing, he was doing these things called the chicken camps, where he would bring people in and you would go to his workshops, and there would be dog trainers. There would be people there for corporate retreats from banks and all walks of life for different reasons. And you'd learn how to train these chickens. So I started doing it. And I give, I always give credit to Bob Bailey for that. His is called Bob Bailey Chicken Camp. I call mine Chicken Lab, but I always say, hey, Bob showed me this stuff. And I have students working with chickens. Like, if I do a week-long seminar here, 2 week long, everybody works with a chicken and learns very simple things. Let's mess the chicken up before we get your dog out, Yeah. And obviously, understanding that we're only using maybe 1 or possibly 2 quadrants of the learning contingency square, we can add the other quadrants in when we have an animal like a dog who will allow us, who is a pack animal, and there's a hierarchy which allows us to use almost all the quadrants of the learning contingency square. So I love working with the chickens, though. They're fun.
Yeah, and so when did you start learning the quadrants? And a lot of people don't apply the quadrants. A lot of them don't know. Can you give a quick synopsis of the quadrants and how that works?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into. I'll explain it for sure. There's basically.
How do you explain it to people?
I draw it on a chalkboard and just make four squares. We talk about it like this. We always talk about positive reinforcement because everybody knows that term, and then we talk about negative reinforcement. Everybody knows that term, and then we add in positive punishment and negative punishment. And they're like, whoa, how could punishment be positive? And then we have to break it down, and then we have to explain it to them and explain that all living organisms do abide by those 4 quadrants. And then, when we talk about the trainer, it's as bad as, Democrats and Republicans fighting each other. You have people on the left, you got people on the right. I'm like, you're all fucking wrong. It's right in the middle is where it's supposed to fucking be. And with right in the middle with a little feeling, and you can train a dog. Y'all can fight. And that's why I don't even like looking at social media except what the next concert in town is or the next mountain bike race, because I start drinking and I'm like, this is not even an art. Like, maybe we should all go back to school for a minute, and understand this stuff.
People try to think with their emotions, and you can't think with your emotions. The bottom line, that's it. And that's, I know I love these dogs too, man. And that's great, but what's best for them? And I've had death threats from people that are purely positive.
Yeah, for sure. And also because I'm known for a long time in the beginning, there were a couple people that were probably on the cutting edge of very, I hate even using the word progressive training. It's not freaking progressive. But in the working dog community, maybe in the early 2000s, there was Ivan Balabanov, a very incredible trainer, very good friend and colleague of mine, Michael Ellis, who really didn't do a lot of competing, but a couple other people who were starting to play with, more shaping and that type of stuff. We were all still using pressure, but a lot of, in the beginning, in the early 2000s, people were looking at me and going, oh, it's just bullshit. We call him one hit Johnny. He won't be able to do it with another dog. He won't be able to, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it. And I was known as the cookie trainer. But everyone knew I still used corrections, and whatever. Let's fast forward 15, 18 years. I still get called to do seminars by facilities that are purely positive, because I'm very cool when I do a seminar. I don't push anything on anybody. All I do is say, these are your boundaries that you can work in. You decide what you want to work in. If you only want to use reward-based training, that's what I prefer to call it. I'm a master at that, even though you guys won't be able to get it done. Like most of the time I can get it done. It's not quite as easy as you think, though. And then you have the people on the other side who, no, you're only a cookie trainer. You've got to use in the showing and teaching phase, you've got to use punishment. And I'm like, you know what? You can all go to hell. I'm going to have a beer and go train my dog.
Well, let the dog be the expert instead of the person.
Yeah, well, that's why I love working dog performance, because I can come out on the field and go, look, I did it again. Look, I did it again. Different dog, different year, blah, blah, blah. Only thing holding me back are my knees and maybe my back.
Yeah, well, look at here. We got a couple more comments here too. Never knew what I could do with my pet until I began real training. Our first dog, I had no idea. And that's it. It's a magical experience.
Yeah, it's
man.
unbelievable. Hey, by the way, I think her name is Judith. I hope you are staying safe from the hurricane coming in on the coast down there, by the way.
Yeah, everybody on South Carolina. And I guess it's going to be a big one, too.
Yep.
Loving Dave Kroyer's honesty. He should come to Scotland. Don't think he'd lead sober, though. Good guy. We love you.
I know I would.
He wants to know. But
you know what? I might not arrive sober. That's kind of that's a little bit of the case a lot of the times.
Yeah, that's a pretty long flight, so that's my big thing. He wants to know, do you ever use the Ecollar?
100%. Yep. I don't hide behind the fact that I use it. I use all the tools. I'm very what a lot of the stuff I don't only use the Ecollar for avoidance training. I do a lot of interesting stuff where I call activation or command amplification and different stuff like that. But absolutely, I use an Ecollar.
Yeah, Larry Crone, I've read his book, and just he switched the way I use the Ecollar. I'm using a lot more constant, and then I'm doing the conditioning phase, a lot more treats, a lot more fun, and then the transitional phase. Then we start to intermittent it, and then that spike of oxytocin. I watched this video that Larry posted about that spike. Happiness is not the achieving of a reward; it's the anticipation.
It's the prediction of a reward. That's when the dopamine is released.
Yeah, and then the introduction of randomness, that dopamine shoots straight up, man.
And that's an interesting topic too, because here's another thing people don't understand: reinforcement schedules, variable reinforcement schedules. Everybody's always like, my dog in training does really well using food, but when I go into the ring or into a competition, the dog falls apart because you don't understand rewards or variable reinforcement. Same thing with pet trainers or people that say, you can't use food, you're begging the dog, you're bribing the dog. No, you have to understand variable reinforcement schedules, and there's different ones, right? There's many different. From when you're in the showing stage of a behavior, you're on a constant reward schedule, to in the end where it's not only random, it could be like never, right? Like So it's very, these are all things that we talk about. And Larry's done some really cool work. Yeah, if your listeners have not seen his work, they need to check that out too. But
Larry Kroyer.
yeah, this is not
Larry Kroyer. Larry.
none of this. You're not gonna hear him say a lot of different stuff than I would say, because we're following the laws of learning. When you've had this, guarantee it. You pick up the phone, it's a client. They're inquiring about how you trained, and they say, "What's your philosophy?" And nowadays, I just hang up. I'm like, "You're talking to the wrong trainer." Listen,
dude, I'm thinking
dog training is not a philosophy. It's not a religion. It is not a freaking religion. There are laws to animal learning. A philosophy is something completely different, right?
yeah.
I'm not philosophical. I mean, maybe I am if I have enough vodka, but I abide by the laws of theory of animal learning. It's that simple. And if somebody calls me, I don't deal with a lot of that anymore. My trainer has to deal with that, and he's young. He's young, and his nerves are way better than mine at this point in life.
Well, it's like when somebody comes up to Larry and is like, "Hey, how long do I have to use this collar for?" He's like, "I'm not sure you're ready for it."
Right.
Because this is not, you're looking at this as a tool to stop, or instead of looking at it as a device that enhances communication, and that this, why wouldn't you want this on the dog, for as long as possible throughout the rest of their life, because it shows that you have communicated with them. And he just says, huge honor coming from you, Dave. I know that Larry
got it, Larry.
And Larry was one of the first people to jump on right when I made this little graph advertising about the talk with you. So, yeah, excellent stuff. And not only that, but let me show. I found this, which is that chicken video here of you doing a quick little. Maybe is it holding still for you? Oh, there it goes. So he's talking operant conditioning. So the dog hits the right hand or the left hand, and then the click. Oh, here's the chickens here. Poker chips.
Yep. We just doing some discrimination training with them.
Oh, so the green one. He has to hit the green one.
But it teaches the students that were in the class timing, and actually the idea of free shaping, which you have to understand that. You have to understand all the ways to shape behaviors.
Yeah. I'm going to go mess with my chickens.
No, I mean, really, they're actually a lot of fun. Grab a couple beers and some chicken feed and a clicker, and you'd be amazed what kind of party tricks you can come up with for it next time you have a little get-together.
Well, and I want to talk about your new project, Dave. I want to talk about DaveKroyer.com. This is something that you put together in the last, how long have you been working on this?
Yeah, I think we went live 2 years ago. It's been something in my head for quite a while. Most of the people know that I did have a DVD series that I'm very, very proud of. The production on them is incredible, and you can still get those, especially the 2 Nosework DVDs were incredible. One thing that it was interesting, when I did those DVDs, they took quite a long time. Mm-hmm. And like one of the DVDs could take 4 or 5 years, and my training was changing throughout those 4 or 5 years. And if you watch some of those videos, you'll see footage of me being like that one where I was probably 195 pounds.
Yeah, look at you. Look at this guy.
Yeah, I'm a little bit heavier there, and I'm about 160 pounds now. So that tells you how long those videos took. And what I started to feel was when I did a DVD, the training died right there the day I did that DVD.
Wow.
Because what would happen was maybe I would wake up the next day and go, I want to change something, right? But I felt that I had to stick to what I did and I'm like, but that's not dog training, man. Like I'm painting a picture and maybe I want a little more red over here, a little more fuchsia or a little more blue. And I'm like, I feel weird, like the training died. It was this thing and it was static. And I'm like, that's not what I am, man. I'm constantly coming up with new stuff. So And a lot of people said, "Hey, Dave, the production on the DVDs are awesome, but we'd rather the production not be as good and be more organic." So I had this envision of something kind of like Netflix, where you pay a monthly fee, and I do have hundreds of videos, some free, some that you have to pay for, and a website that could be like, just go to this website, man, and there's going to be something for everybody. I've got dock diving videos, all the rule books for the different sports. We have free videos on there. I do Free Video Friday almost every Friday on my Facebook page on any topic. And I do have to give a hand to the IPO people, because that was my original kind of audience, right? They kind of got me going because I was very well known there. But I've got lectures on theory. I've got tracking, 20-day tracking challenge, the DKA healing masterclass, puppy stuff, anything you can think of. And we will probably be dabbing into more companion dog training stuff in this winter. So there's just a plethora, even if you don't want to be a subscriber and pay for the subscription, check out all the free videos on the website, man. And some of them are kind of funny too. I always inject a tiny bit of humor to everything. So check out my top 10 potty training tips video. That is probably one of my favorite.
Top 10 potty training tips.
Yeah, we don't have to check it out, but everybody needs to. And it's a free video.
That's another one. Oh, that one's another one. So that's so everybody has the homework is checking out that video. And this is
DaveKroyer.com.
Yep. And that's the site. I got it written down here. Make sure that's written correctly. Yep. It looks like it's good to go there. How much is it a month if you wanted to join?
There's a basic subscription for $7.99 a month, and then there is a gold subscription for $9.99 a month, which has videos that actually take a little more time there to make. Tracking, where I have to go out to a tracking field, or retrieve videos. There's some very interesting protection videos, more high level training, and with the gold package at $9.99 a month, you get my podcast, which is always entertaining, because I have my Facebook rants where I talk about shit that I've seen on Facebook that I'm freaking out about.
I want to listen, man. You're already getting me.
Like the lady who had the husky that I can't even talk about it.
Well, I want
very interesting stuff.
Speaking of which, let me go. When I posted this, a lady commented on it, and I wanted to make sure that I read this comment to you here, because I think that's important. She says, her name is Julie Hart, and she says, I took a workshop with Dave here a few years ago. He was a great source of info and also just an all-around nice guy. Some of the other trainers were belittling me and my dog because she was a foster dog and I trained her to be a house dog with manners. Dave took no part in it and helped me. Also, there was a very rude attendee who was really putting him on the spot, and he handled it with grace, but also didn't give in to her absurdities. And
that must have been a few years ago, because nowadays I'm like, no, I'm not dealing with that. But thank you, Julie, for that comment.
He said it was in Albuquerque, and you probably remember the lady.
Yeah, actually, now I do. Yep.
Yep. She says that she really appreciated you treating her with respect, a dog rescue person, not a working dog person, and you treated her with respect and kindness.
Thank you.
That's something that I think that we all need to hear. If you appreciate the work that somebody does, please let them know, and let them know if anybody's had an effect on your life. Let them know, because a lot of times people are out there, and hearing back from people is something that's going to recharge their battery and encourage them to do this even more. So Jason says, ring people love you, David. And let's see here. He says, can I get a buddy discount? Dave is the man. Huge honor. Well, let's see here. Just all the comments. And, if you're a dog professional, you cannot afford to not be subscribed to Dave Kroyer. I mean, that's $120 in a year. And how much do your seminars typically cost?
You mean from what I get paid or what people have to pay?
No, what people have to pay to attend to learn from you.
I don't know when I'm traveling because I'm not in. I just have a set fee that I charge. I don't know what the clubs and stuff make. Yeah, I
But I
have no
mean,
idea.
$500. I've gone to seminars, 500, $1,000.
They're probably like 100, 120 a day. It depends on what. Yeah, I don't. The clubs. I'm not cheap to come out. And normally I try to pair it with some very good mountain biking. So if you've got that near you, and you've got, and I know you do, so
I got it right across the street, dude.
Pacific Northwest, man, Bellingham, Washington. It's where Transition Bikes are from. The company I ride for. So yeah, I do need to get up there.
Dude, I'm 45 minutes away from there too.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about having you up here and just maybe doing a seminar up here. 300 per working spot, Texas. That's what Angie says. And that's, my point is for $120 for the whole frickin' year. And you're spending less than half than you would for one seminar. And that's, I mean, the value of it is just, it's to me, it's just, you cannot afford not to belong to this.
And the other cool thing is, if you're a subscriber and you email me and go, hey Dave, can you make a video on blah blah blah? I'll go, I either have it or give me 3 days. I'm gonna make you the video. I will answer your question directly. And I've got a blog that's on there, and that's free. Once again, all the rule books free. You can see most of my competition videos for free on that website. Tons of free. Listen, you spend $9.99 on a freaking Starbucks every freaking day.
Yeah,
Jesus,
no kidding.
Christ.
Yeah, go to the hot bar at Whole Foods and you're
Right.
$13, and you're not even full. Hey, David, Jason Davis says that he's going to pay you in vodka.
What's up, Jason? Hey, I hope you're going to see you in Michigan, buddy. You're going to come up to your hometown.
Yeah, hometown advantage there.
Yeah,
and
he'll probably
Wire
text me.
says he misses you. Angie says Wire says he misses you there. So, yeah, that's great, man. And here, let me show you the site here again. This is a Dave Kroyer, DaveKroyer.com, folks. And this is something that's very valuable. And I like that you have your own platform here. And I like what you said, dude, about how when you would do these DVDs or I guess you can't really see me. When you do these DVDs, that you would wake up and be like, oh man, I could have done this better,
or different, or that was good, but I want to change it, but I can't tell anybody. That freaked me out. I lost sleep over that. But now, and here's the thing, on the website, there's not one video I will ever take down. I may make another one and go, hey, do you remember that video? I've added something, or I've taken, or I changed it, or I twisted it. That's still valid, but check this out now,
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel, it's never ending. It's a painting. It becomes an art form. And, that's what I do kind of every night when I'm home and goofing with my dog, especially a young dog. I'm just pushing the boundaries, seeing what I can do different and seeing where it takes me,
Absolutely. And that's it. I love that it's like a painting. You're creating a masterpiece here, it's fluid, it's growing organic. It's not just a stamp
Right.
done and you're over. And it's also intuitive. And we have to look at the the feedback that we're getting from this dog. And I remember and it's just so good to have people that you can be like, hey Dave, my dog is his front is like askew. How do I, and why did you train in that? That's what you're
exactly. By the way, I have an incredible front video with a series of videos, and it's an interesting one on the video because that's the truth. Why'd you train that? And people will always say, well, Dave, okay, my dog's front is crooked. How do I fix it? And I go, guess what? You don't. The dog does. Now get to teaching your dog how to fix that,
Yeah, I'm intrigued just by that, because I've had somebody like laying out little boards, there's always these little things that doesn't really
it's funny, I've got a video, I call it Lazy Man Fronts, where I even say, listen, I don't really like this shit, but you could put some boards down. I think it was even a free video, but I'm like, if you really want to see the cool shit, It's on the website, and it's
Yes.
like a 15, 20. I know Jason Davis did that whole front thing.
Hey, Dave, he just commented, Dave taught me my front. So Dave's site is the Netflix of dog training. There you go. That's Janny Bird. She says, you know, that's it. I'll be joining it once I get off here, man. I'm looking forward to going through everything, and you know, I appreciate you doing this, taking the initiative, and saying, hey, look, something's broken about this static model of how we used to do things, and innovating to help dogs.
Yeah. Or people, you know, like, I like so-and-so's method or this method, or there's no method. It's just a thing, right? And we all do it. And if you understand the laws of learning, make it your own painting, you know? But if you're, you know, and of course, over my career, I've stole from here and stole from here. There's direct influences, but at this point in my life, my training has taken on a whole new, like, whatever brand. I didn't want it to. It's just kind of what I do, but it still all revolves around the laws of learning. You know them laws, you can paint your own picture. It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, know the laws of learning, know the 3 stages of training, what you call it, and I guess Larry too, conditioning, integration, and then maintenance, right?
Yep. Yeah. I call them something different. And in Pamela Reed's book, she calls them something different, but it don't matter. It's the same exact thing, right? I probably have a video lecture on that too, and it could be free. But yeah, you have to understand, first of all, what stage of training are you in with that behavior? And then I always talk about whether it's I call it proofing or maintenance or whatever. But people don't like to spend a lot of time in the proofing stage of a behavior, because that's when you let the dog make a mistake, and nobody wants their dog to make a mistake.
Yeah.
But I want my dog to make a mistake so I can show him, well, don't do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And let them know, hey, look, there's consequences in this world.
Absolutely.
And that's how dogs learn. Dogs learn from consequences. If we look at the word con together, sequences, right? So sequences coming together to make this outcome. And when it happens again, the dog sees that pattern. And just like when we go into solve problems, that's what we're looking for. We're taking a 30,000 foot view, and we're looking for the patterns.
Right.
And where we see where this went off into the ditch, and how to write the course if it's possible, and also being honest with it's possible, but I mean, not always with the right. I mean, some people just shouldn't have certain dogs, I think. I mean, they're incapable of. I mean, I remember one gal that comes to mind, and I've talked about this earlier. There's a 70-some-year-old lady whose son left his Rottweiler with her, and it was a horrible situation. And I gave her permission to get rid of this dog, and you should have seen the weight that was lifted off of her chest. It was like, and I was like, yeah, you don't need to keep this dog.
Right.
I don't. So, and my wife just came home too, so I think that this would be a great time to. And hold on one second. Hey, you guys, chill out. Thank you. Goodness. So yeah, everybody check out Dave's site, and man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this. Oh wait, where'd you go?
I'm here.
Oh.
I'm here.
Where did Dave go?
Still here.
Gosh, I got a little girl here with me too, so I don't know where Dave went. I'm gonna pop him down here. Can you guys hear my little? There's my little girl right there, my little mini cattle dog. Hey, knock it off. Lay down. Relax. All right, everybody. So, 1, 2. Let me see if I can bring Dave back. Well, Angie says, sit down, few bags of Bill Jack, and binge Dave's videos starting from video 1 to current while rolling balls. Good way to spend 5-6 hours. Yes, I highly recommend it. Check out davekroyer.com. And thank you, everybody, for joining me on another live stream. And hope we'll see you next time. And we will be doing a live stream, I believe, this weekend. I'll be heading to the IACP conference in Tampa Bay, Florida, and we might do one before that. And then we're going to be doing some live streams at the conference itself. So thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful day. Sequoia says goodbye.